Steve, even though we didn't have too much interest, we only had the one fighter over a very busy weekend of boxing. But there was a lot of interest for us because obviously the fight between Lopez and Conlon and the rematch between Lara and Wood. We've got a lot of interest in them. But yeah, I know you're going to talk about that. We've got Zelfa Barrett and a few other things. But can we just go back to Aqib, because you watched that?
Yeah, obviously I went down to the arena last night, but I was interested in all the shows there. So after I watched Aqib, I come home to get on the telly and watch some fights that I wanted to see. We'll talk about them a bit, but Aqib's fight, we've always matched him tough. Because we've got big expectations of him, and he's going to be in title fights, so he's got to learn the trade the right way to be prepared for that. And last night was a perfect example of it. He boxed absolutely superbly for the first 5 rounds and was doing so in the 6th. And to be honest, sat ringside, I thought Aqib had done a good shot on that lad, but it seems that they've both hit each other at the same time, and has got Aqib flush and he's gone over. Didn't know really where he was, and he's learned obviously how to survive the last 15-20 seconds, whatever it was on the round. But he started the 7th still on wobbly legs, and again, that's a learning curve. But once he got a good shot off in the 7th, it kind of gave him the impetus that he was back, and he got his legs back, and I believe he got his senses back. And even though the referee scored 7 and 8 for the other kid, I didn't do. I thought he'd done at least enough to win or share the 7th and probably nick the 8th. But 76, 75 he won.
Do you think I was a bit too close?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but listen, there's been worse judge scores than that.
We know that.
So the fact is that the first 5 he won clearly. He was winning the 6th, and he got tagged with a big shot. And when you look back at it, he could probably have coasted 6, 7 and 8 like he coasted 1 to 5, but he's got a big following, he's on live TV, he wants to make a statement, so he was like putting it a bit on the kid, and I can't fault him for that, because that's what everyone wants to see. But he'll learn a lot from his mistake last night, and he'll learn a lot of what he learned in the last 3 rounds, as in to survive and get through when you're hurt. And very, very pleased with him, and it's his second 8 round. He goes up to a 10 round the next time, and possibly title fights, and that's always been the plan for Aqib.
Well, obviously I went on YouTube and I was listening quite. I've not got the zone, so I couldn't watch the fight. But all the comments that I read on the fight were very positive, saying it was a great performance, and he showed something that he's not had to show before, which is really good, as you were just saying. But just going back quickly to bad judging, did you see the Lawrence Okoli?
Yeah.
How do you get that to 112, 112?
Yeah, you never know. Was it 3 or 4 knockdowns and two deductions? Yeah, it's madness. He definitely needs looking at. I don't even know who he was.
No, I don't either, but
it was funny that, because I wanted to watch the Lara and Wood fight, and maybe I'd have clicked through because I wanted to watch that, but it was strange. It was such a shit fight, but it was like watching a Benny Hill movie, wasn't it? Like I couldn't take my eyes off it, and so I missed the Lara and Wood, but I managed to watch the Conlon, because obviously Josh Warrington's got a bit of interest in that featherweight division, and I wanted to watch it. I thought the Okoli Billam Smith fight was going to be a good fight, but Billam Smith didn't really do much. Okoli did a little bit more, but was holding so often. It was a terrible fight. I think, let's say he's gone over 3 or 4 times. There weren't big punches that made him go over, and it was like, because he was lunging forward on a couple of them. I'd say I'd have to watch it back, but I'm not watching that back.
No.
And I believe there's a rematch clause in, so how they're going to sell that, I don't know. But anyway, it couldn't have happened to a nicer fella. I don't know him, Chris Billam Smith. I've never met him, but I've watched his interviews. I've seen a lot of his fights, and he seems a really nice kid, and he's come through what he's come through. And not easy to sell football stadiums out.
Oh,
15,000 people in his own town of Bournemouth, so they've all took to him, and fair play to not just him but the team and the promoters for getting behind him and making it happen down in Bournemouth. It's great for boxing, but that fight, as I say, I don't know why I ended up watching it when Lara and Woods was on the other, but I did.
Do you know something? Coley, he does it all the time. I still can't forgive him for when he won the British title against Matty Askin.
Yeah, one of the worst fights I've ever seen. That.
Yeah, well, that was up there with it as well last night.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to question Sky's judgment of bringing him to be the face of their boxing, haven't you? You know,
totally.
Unbelievable, yeah. But going on to the other fights, I watched Come Home because he's a big friend of ours, isn't he, Sam Eggington? And,
I loved it.
It was great to see.
Actually, I like Joe Pickford, mate, you know, but because he trained, I used to bump into him a lot when he was at Ricky Hatton's, and he's a really nice guy, but that experience that Sam had, you know, everyone thinks he's washed up, but he's still got a lot of
great
left,
performance, won it, and come back. I hope he gets another big payday on the back of that. So I'd come home to watch that as well, and then obviously Lopez and Conlon, and like a couple of the big fights last night, I'd have got them wrong because I mean, I didn't give Willem Smith a prayer against Acola. I actually thought Conlon would box and beat Lopez, but after the first 2 rounds, that Lopez got him into what he wanted to do, which was to have a fight, and I think he was too physically strong and punched too hard for Conlon, and that was shown. It was a bad knockout.
Did you see the actual punch that knocked him down? Because it was a weird one, because it seemed to hit him in the solar plexus and then flick up onto his chin. Yeah, he looked really gone.
Yeah, I think he'd got them off a couple of times before as well, and you know, I mean, it's an awkward fight. Obviously, we had Josh Warrington with him, which I still to this day thought Josh had beat him, and certainly being at home in Leeds, you'd have thought he got the decision, but he didn't do. And you know, Josh was coming off a 9-month layoff, and a broken jaw and a broken hand, and he was a bit tentative in those early rounds. But you know, there's no stronger featherweight in the world than Josh, so he can match him for strength and you know, for work rate as well, as was shown down the stretches where, you know, the referee was letting him hold on to Josh, and he was letting him, you know, whinge about certain injuries and things and calling time out, and you know, he had to old man his way through against Josh. You know, at times Josh was throwing around like a rag doll near the end, so obviously loved that fight again to regain the IBF. Over in Manchester, I thought Lara with that £4 advantage would put it right onto Woods in the first few rounds, and I didn't really want to see it because I expected a bad KO, but everyone I've spoke to and everything I've read there just saying that Lara never turned up. Now, is that because there was something wrong with his weight? Maybe there was a clause that he couldn't put too much on, and he was dead at the weight when he's got in there, or like happened with Andy Ruiz, and Mexican mentality where
you achieve what
he
you
suddenly
achieve.
Got a few quid and he's not got up for the fight and trained for it, and maybe that's why he didn't make the weight. And you know, a lot of people were saying to me he just didn't look interested in it. You know, whether again is it because he's been stripped of his title and he wasn't happy with that, but you know, fair play to Lee Woods, not just for winning that fight, but for actually taking it straight away, and then still doing it when the lad was £4 heavier than at the scales. So I'm really pleased for Lee Wood. It might even be that he boxed brilliantly and didn't give Lara a chance. Don't know, I've not seen it, but everyone's saying to me Lara's not turned up. But you know, again, that's a possibility for Lee Wood to defend against Josh Warrington.
Which would you and Josh prefer out of those two?
Do you know what? We're easy. We just got to fight for the world title again. Obviously, there's Vargas at the WBC, which might be in America. So, you know, I had a chat with Eddie last night, and I've said to him, look, you know, you've got to deliver something for Josh now. We've been out of the ring since November again. You know, he's probably in the top 5 fighters in the UK, in the top 3 ticket sellers. You know, if we go abroad, we're going to take a massive load of crowd. We fight Lee Wood in Nottingham, we're going to take a load. You know, he's got to do something for Josh, and he said, you know, bear with me a little bit and he'll do that. And the same with Zelfa Barrett, he's got to deliver. He has delivered. We've had a world title which we just lost with injury, and then we've come back and had a good win on the Cardina undercard with a intention that we'll be fighting Joe Cardina, but it looks like that Joe Darkina doesn't want that fight for whatever reason, so he's got to get something for Zelfa, and being told there'll be a big show in Manchester in September and Zelfa will get a decent fight on there, unless the Cardina one changes, but we don't see that happening, so we've got to get a new route for Zelfa as well. So yeah, it was a good night for British boxing, wasn't it?
It was.
I don't think it's good that there's 3 fights on the same night, but everybody who I'd seen or spoke to were having all the setups with the 3 on, weren't they?
I had the 2 main ones, Boxer and BT, and I was just flicking from channel to channel, between the breaks and everything, and whichever was catching my fancy. I also had Black Flash on my mobile phone as well, because they had a show on at Bowlers. So it was
mad Saturday night, and I just stayed on the Sunday trying to clear a bit of work up before I got to watch United last home game of the season, so
I presume
my kidneys are going to get a bit of rest now.
Well, I presume you can relax and enjoy that, because it doesn't matter about the result.
We need to win and keep third, don't we? So the momentum's important. We've got to play Man City next week in the cup final as well, which is going to be a really hard game, but we've got to keep at it. And it was nice to have Ganacho come and wish Aqib all the best last night.
Was he down there, was he?
Yeah, he come in the ring, and in the changing room, I actually said to him, are you allowed out on the Saturday night? Alec Ferguson wouldn't have had that, and he just looked at me, didn't understand. He said, I'm not partying, I'm okay, I'm allowed out. Yeah, so he was at the boxing last night, and hopefully he comes on at Wembley and tears City a new arsehole, and he'll be my favourite guy then.
Well, one quick one as well before we go. The show on the 24th, which is our next show in June, back at the University of Bolton Stadium, really developing into a great show. I've just got the list off yourselves, and I think you started with about 9-10 fights, and I think we're now up to nearly 13 fights.
No, we've got 12, which is maximum you can have. I've put 3 of the Scousers on who were let down the week before. I think I've got a couple more dates for the others, and there's only one more to make, and then I've got all them out as well before the end of the season, which is
job done then.
What I said, try to do, yeah. So tickets are flying out for that one. We've got some big ticket sellers on, and we've got some good fights, haven't we? So,
well, I've just called with Darren Tetley, and he's up for it because he wants to stay where he's at. He's been involved with a lot of big fights, title fights. I know his record's not brilliant.
It's not bad, by the way.
No. Yeah. I mean, his last 5 fights.
He's fought a lot better level than Jake James has, and Jake knows he's got a tough fight with him, but if he's going to go and achieve what we want him and expect him to achieve, he's got to be beating the likes of Darren Tetley, but it's not a given at all.
No, it's not, definitely not, because Darren wants to stay there and he wants to be where he's been. So
I think that's one of the reasons why the tickets are going so well, because there's a good main event, and it helps the undercard sell, and it's something that I've got to really focus on now, because even that big event last night, the tickets didn't go that well, and they had to comp a few out, and the money's not as it was, and people are being careful with it, aren't they? So if they're going to spend their money, we've got to give them a good reason for coming.
Well, that's it. And I was just speaking to Darren, and I didn't realise both him and Jake, because they're very similar in age. I think Darren's just a year older than him, but both were on England squad together.
Right, didn't know that.
No, I didn't. So it was nice to find that out. Looking forward to it, and to everything else that you've added to it now, mate. Top night on 4 weeks yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Alright, see you later, mate.
Thank you, pal. Bye.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.